liberty, and justice for all.
We will start with, looks like we have two appropriation ordinances from 1238 and 1239. So we will begin with appropriation ordinance number 1238. Does anybody have any questions or concerns with it? If no questions, we have a motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve appropriation ordinance number 1238.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve appropriation ordinance number 1238. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Move to appropriation ordinance number 1239. That's a big one.
This is the first payment to Bettis.
Yeah.
So we have a couple smaller payments to Bettis. Is that for separate funds?
Probably for asphalt that we purchased through the lower Paxton streets.
Okay.
And we're gonna be adding them to, are they gonna be, or will that C-clip's gonna be added to the agenda, right?
Yeah, to talk specifically about the sidewalk, but more generally, wherever you have an update or questions.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on appropriation ordinance number 1239? No questions, entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor, move we approve appropriation ordinance number 1239.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve appropriation ordinance number 1239. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is the minutes. Proposed minutes from the July 16th regular meeting.
I would just point out that the appropriation headline on that set of minutes say 1235 instead of 1237, which is a clerical error. So,
Okay. That's just in the title of it.
correct, and it doesn't need to be amended, it's just a clerical.
Okay. Any questions on the minutes? Minutes stand approved as presented. All right, items to be added, Maurice, you wanna?
We'll add C-clip. You know that, I'm gonna propose removing C from the agenda, replace it with
Okay,
C-clip.
C-clip,
Yeah,
so
we'll
C
put-
Charlie, we're gonna do C-clip instead of the Valley View Estates.
Yeah. And just so you know, Mike asked that we take off, he wants to wait until the county approves it before he brings it to you all, even though it was approved last night by the planning commission.
Okay,
I had a guess on Friday for the agenda, so I guess it wrong.
all right. Anything else to add to the agenda? Well, I don't know, if we could probably just do it under reports. I just wanna ask a question about the armory, but I think that could be under reports, I think it's not,
Unless you want action,
I don't want,
we'll just do it under.
yeah, I'll do it. Okay. Move on, first item, business is the Palmer Road Bridge.
Howdy. So, that's been going on for over a year. They weren't, at the previous meeting, they gave the wrong date.
Yeah.
But they're here now to follow, I mean, it's one of those things, process. The information was in the packet. We done it the last time, is you had questions about where all the other alternatives looked at, and sort of that, and I thought, this would be time to have them review it, because I believe they reviewed that a year ago. So, yeah. Okay. And then also, did you watch last meeting, that's another link?
I did not.
Okay, so they also were wanting to get a second opinion on the report.
Okay.
And I ran it by one of the engineers we talked to, and they didn't have immediate time to do it. So, but then this popped up, so we'll just review the options.
Sure, yeah. David Workman, Parliament County Engineer. I missed, I think, some county staff and the design engineer came in a couple of months ago. I guess coaching a softball game and St. Mary's that night, so I wasn't here, apologize for that. But I know they gave a report then or discussed options. Basically, I'm just here to sort of background, see if you have any questions, see if there's anything that I need to provide you guys with information on. You know, if there's any questions that you need me to take back to the county commission, I'd be happy to. As I recall, they talked about currently that bridge, 3/4 of it, 3 of the 4 quadrants are in the city, 1/4 is in the county. It's currently under the county's list of bridges because I'm sure when that was constructed X number of years ago, probably most of those quadrants, if not all of them, were in the county at that time, so it's the county bridge. Now it would be a city bridge because of how it's located with the city limits. But I just, wanted to see if you had any questions, thoughts, anything you want me to bring to the county.
Anyone have any questions?
I did, it's good to see you again.
Yeah, you too, right?
So, it's a low-use bridge.
Right.
But it kind of needs to be there. It's high cost
Yeah.
to repair it. And I wasn't on the commission last year when we were meeting, went over options. But looking at it, it's not a lot of money for a low-use bridge.
Sure.
So looking at it, is there a way to just put a better surface over top of it? What are the options besides just a full replacement?
Yeah, I don't know if there's much for servicing options. The biggest concern that we might have is the width of it. It's fairly narrow, which is okay on a very low volume road, but I think that I'd have to go back and look at the structural report on it. Biggest issue we'd have would be fire trucks, trash trucks, things like that would go over it. I don't think that it gets the farm usage anymore. I think, there's a couple ag pieces of ground adjacent to that I think, the ones to the north, I think they come off of 24, or maybe they come off of, it's not Darling Road, is it maybe? I can't remember, but, yeah, I had to go back and look and see if there's something to do with the surface, but, probably not a whole lot we can do about it. You don't happen to remember how old that bridge is, do you, Maurice?
Was that in the report?
It probably was.
I have a report.
Yeah. And I can get some more information, come back in 2 weeks.
And that,
1940, year built.
Yeah. So you're looking at an 80-year-old structure that typically wouldn't spend much money on trying to preserve something that's 80 years old and as narrow as it is. So,
If I might,
yeah.
I was on the commission when we first presented this. There was more than one option, including something like
Like a little water crossing type thing, yeah.
but we weren't presented with anything other than this $400,000.
Okay.
So I just, that's why in the last meeting, we were wondering how we could find
Sure.
other solutions, for
Right.
another engineering firm. I think that's the essential question, is we're not saying we don't want to do anything,
Sure, yeah.
but the big bill or,
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely explore like a little water crossing option. Now, one of the headaches with those is maintenance. And with it being a city structure after it gets replaced and the city handling the maintenance of it, you can't, I would not be concerned with the county anymore. Before, like we say, well, gosh, we're worried about tree limbs and things coming down, clogging up a little water crossing. If it's not a maintenance issue to the county anymore, that'd be one way we could, works good for us, because somebody else can go down there, cleaning out sticks and things in the tubes or whatever. But yeah, I would go back to county staff and look at other options, and that'd be one of them, yep.
yeah, I agree with Matt that I think a lot of money for something that doesn't get a lot of use.
Right, yeah, yep.
Yeah, we have many other things that we have to start, looking at
Sure.
around town, so if there is another option that's not as expensive.
Well, and one of the options would be, apply for a KDOT grant to pay for approximately 80% of it. That's one thing we talked about pursuing, and we'd be happy to apply for that grant if that's something we want to look
Is
into.
that the same grant that was applied for the previous?
Probably, yeah.
I thought that was off the table.
I can look into it on that.
It got denied, didn't it? Or-
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Could have been, yeah, but I know a lot of times we apply.
I mean, we could try again,
Multiple
right?
times, sure, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Unless there's something about it that makes it, not fundable through that grant, and then it's good to apply, but I'm assuming that if that's the qualifications, it's just, most of those projects, you're spending grants and maybe one out of every 3 to 5 projects get funded through that grant process, so, for example, Louisville Road Bridge, by Rock Creek, I think we applied for 3 or 4 times before it got funded. So, yeah.
Okay, and it's obviously need high on the priority list, but waiting for this and then take another year to do.
Right, yeah.
So the process would be 2 years if you wait to receive the grant.
Yep, that's, now, if a bridge replacement was the solution that was chosen, you go through the process of designing it, and so then, once you got the grant, you could go ahead and, submit the plans to KDOT right away, and get their approval on them, and that would short things up to, within a few months of getting the grant.
Yeah, I just want a time frame.
Yeah, so those are probably 2 options. One is you wait until you get a grant, and then design it and build it, and that's about a 2-year process. Or you go ahead and design it now and apply for the grant, and then, whenever you get it, you go right to construction with it.
Does having it already designed?
Yes, it does.
Help with the grant?
It does help with the grant, or at least that has been the indication. When you do fill out the grant, it asks you where you're at in the process. If you require right away, you require utilities are in the way, if you got it designed. They are very secretive about what the selection process is, but everyone is in kind of agreement that the more of those steps that you've completed, the more that it improves the chances of getting it funded, yes.
Okay.
This probably has a little bit more of an issue, like if it was somewhere else, you could, the low water crossing options or some of those things probably lend itself better. The issue with this one is there's that mobile home park subdivision just north of it, so if this was, out on Sandy Hook Road or somewhere and it backed up or went over the road, okay, we flooded the field, probably not a big issue. If this were to back up and flood those homes, it's definitely more of a concern because of that. So I'll have to look into it and talk to the design engineer to see. And again, you're talking about something that, hasn't, I don't think they've run any hydraulic numbers on it yet. They haven't done any design, it's a very preliminary stage that, if somebody were to say, hey, we want to explore this option, such as a low water crossing, is it feasible? And you could run that modeling and find out, yes, it is, or no, it's not. Because typically, that would be like a 25-year design storm. So theoretically, there's a 4% chance every year of the road being overtopped by that bridge. This would be a higher concern, probably a higher design, maybe like a 50-year design or something, because of the concern of backing up water into that mobile home park.
I don't know if it would work, but I was just looking at the map, Chuck. Pace Drive is a private road. It's not.
Yes, it is.
If that were somehow to become a public road,
Absolutely.
we
That's
could
not-
just close, we wouldn't even need, if we just knew somebody that could make Pace Drive a public road.
Yep.
I don't know if it would work.
Another option that we talked about internally at the county would be if we were to get an entrance off of Highway 24, buy right of way from the road out for them and bring the roadway south.
Yeah, and we're looking at that too.
That's another option we looked at. Again, I hate to throw that out there as an option until we've met with KDOT and, said, hey, are you willing to give us another access off US 24? Personally, I think we probably have a pretty good chance of that because there's quite a few access points already along that stretch with, former Pearl property and the other ones through there. But that could also be a reason why they wouldn't grant another access, because they could say, hey, this is US 24, we don't need 15 access points and, a quarter mile, whatever the number is, make that number down. But yeah, that's an option we could definitely explore. Again, talking to a landowner about purchasing right away from them, talking to KDOT about getting an access. But we talked about pace. Again, we, as a county, shy away from it because it's in the city limits, so it's kind of, that'd be a city thing, but we'd be happy to explore the alternate route across the farm ground, if you guys wanted to explore looking at pace as a possible option as well. Because yeah, I would say both of those would probably be, if you look at just the dollar options, it would be cheaper costs than that bridge.
Yeah.
Nathan, you said that potentially fire trucks would need to use that. Would that just to be, just the one house to get to? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah,
Or they need to
yeah.
get to something else?
Yeah, now I don't know, like, I talked to city fire chief to see, if there were a fire in the mobile home park, would they go 24 and go south down Pace, or would they take, Palmer and go across the bridge and go north into it? I don't know what their preferred route would be, but yeah. Yeah. It's tough, the county's kind of similar, we have a lot of dead end, fields and homes in different parts of the county that you're like, wow, that's an expensive access to these two pastures or this one field or this one house, but, that's part of the, business of providing that infrastructure to property access.
Pardon me.
Yep.
Gentlemen, I just remind everybody, while we're conducting the meeting up here, if you all want to talk, you're more than welcome to, but we just ask maybe you step outside, because it's kind of hard when we get people talking, and then us having to have a carry-on conversation up here as well. Thank you. Go ahead.
No, that's
Okay.
about all I had, I think.
Okay.
So from the meeting tonight, what steps are being taken?
Again, I'm here to get whatever direction you guys want me to pursue, but, you know, one thing, if you're not ready to jump into an agreement to split the cost of a bridge design or a bridge construction, you know, I'm glad to look at an option that reroutes that roadway through that field and see if that's a possibility. Again, that's gonna include contacting the landowner, contacting KDOT. If you guys wanna talk to, the owner of the mobile home park.
He's here.
Okay. So that works. Well, shoot, you're here. Why are you here talking about bridges?
Brady knows more about this one than me.
Okay. I can, you know, explore the option of surfacing with Brady with the BG Consultants has looked at preliminarily, and I think it's very preliminarily because, again, when you're not getting paid for it, you don't want to spend too much time looking at it, but.
Is the grant on a cycle or is it open year round?
No, it's on a cycle. I think it's twice a year, I think.
This one's once a year. It'll be up again, or it'll be open again spring of next year.
Yeah.
They're about to make announcements on the ones that just went in this year.
And we're also gonna look at maybe other options for the bridge.
Yeah, we can. I need to talk to those guys and see how much, again, they probably looked at it very preliminarily, but again, you're not getting paid to do it. You don't want to go down that road too far. And if you say, hey, we're going to do one of the other options, they'd probably look into it. But if it's like, you know, hey, look at 3 bridge options and look at these other 2 alignments. A lot of times they don't want to go too far down that road. And I don't blame them. You can ask them and maybe they will. But we could look at, I'd say probably the 2 options would be replacing the bridge and then potentially like a low water crossing.
What is the maintenance you said on the low water crossing?
Yeah, the biggest issue that we've seen, again, you know, they could get scoured out. Another one would be like, well, most of what we see is like tree limbs. So you got brush and tree limbs that come down. And if you have 2 or 3 culverts there with a concrete surface over it.
Does it matter that it's in the floodplain and that it's a floodway?
I don't think it would.
The only reason I say that is when the US 24 bridge was replaced, KDOT was gonna do it with the different spans underneath, but they would have to go downstream to make adjustments, and they ended up just putting it back as it was.
Yeah, we typically shy away. I don't know the last time the county's put in a low water crossing because they don't want to be in the maintenance of low water crossing, so they're, you know, getting out of that process. But I say that, but I do know 2 locations that, you know, that are going to pastures or fields that they're looking at because they're like, hey, if something happens, it's not gonna damage anything, you know, whereas, which is, I'm guessing why, you know, BG and the county kind of shied away from that in this location because there is a chance of it's more problematic because the homes are directly adjacent to it.
I will add, yeah, and I don't know a lot of background behind some of the preliminary work, but it is on that map. It is the floodway, so it does get into FEMA and DNR floodway permitting and stuff with no rise conditions. So it's, you start to put something down in the water, there's got to be enough water above it, flowing over it to not cause a rise situation. It gets really challenging.
And even if it wasn't in the floodway with that no rise,
Yeah.
we'd be concerned with the mobile home park.
Yeah.
You know, even from a permitting standpoint, you were allowed to let it, you know, rise, you wouldn't want to just because of, you know, that possibility.
Yeah, I was just saying, I brought that up because I thought it would add to the cost. It would change maybe what option
Yeah. So,
we do best.
Nathan,
Yeah.
you were talking about putting another road off of south of 24. Is there a way to attach it to an existing road, like Darling Road? Maybe
but potentially,
open that up?
yeah.
It's already there.
Right, there is a not really a crit, but I think there's a drainage way that would need some sort of drainage structure, you know, on that to go from Darling over. Again, that's a possibility. I know KDOT would prefer that because we're not adding another access point to 24. Downside is that landowner, would they be, you know, agreeable to that, cutting across that? Yeah, that would be the biggest question to ask them. And again, I hate to even bring it up because we have not even broached the subject with them at all. It's just something that we talked about, like, hey, if the city isn't really on board with doing the bridge, what other options and possibilities are there? And that's one that we saw. What do you got, Francis? You got something?
I keep beating this dead horse, but it probably make every engineer in the room cringe, but, is there a way, they used to make steel bridges, just steel bridges, the old building bridge.
Yeah.
Things like that. The other day, the end structures, the concrete structures, they're not in great shape, but they're not really gonna go anywhere. You know, they're kind of there and, yeah, it's not great, but can you just set a big steel kind of structure right on top of it all? And
Yeah.
then put a ramp to it? It's kind of a little bit backyardish, but at the same time, it's a low-use bridge.
Yeah.
The structure's not, it's not like it's gonna go down any farther. But-
Yeah, I don't know, I need to talk to Brady BG. I assume what their plan was probably a steel, girder bridge with a steel deck on the top and a gravel surface, I think. But I don't know, you probably don't know.
I was looking at the calendar, the commission packet, and
Okay.
that's, I was actually looking at a box bridge.
Okay.
We found those little steel bridges are expensive still.
Yeah, they went up a lot in the last 5 years. Yeah, so like he said, that, with the price of steel, we tried to go to mostly concrete structure. I know we're doing, Marlin West is doing a bridge for the county right now that, when it started, the county said we wanted a steel bridge, because BG just got done doing one, and we looked into it and said, well, you're gonna spend an extra $100,000 to go with that steel bridge versus a concrete one. So we've started doing some concrete bridges on gravel roads, and you're like, why do you have this bridge like this here? It's like, well, because it's cheaper. You don't think it would be, but what we've seen the last 5 years with the cost of steel, that those concrete structures have become more reasonable and cheaper than the steel ones. So, yeah. But I'm happy to get with the county, the rest of the county staff, and get with BG's design engineer.
I guess that's what I had a question about. Even if we could get that Pace Drive to be a city street, that would allow on the west side of the current bridge, traffic to come down and go over to that one.
Yeah.
But would you still have to have some kind of a structure?
No,
You could actually,
we would close that structure.
okay.
The county would be fine with it, as long as the city, you know, again, it's 3/4 of it.
Because if you still had to have a crossing there, then it would be, there's no reason to make that a city street.
Right, we would eliminate that crossing, that structure would be taken out.
But I'm just looking at the Google Maps, and if it's true that having a low structure there could have more of a water backup, you can see there's a house, there's a cove right there.
Yeah,
So that's a risk that,
and it's been a while since I've been out there, but it seems like last time I was there, if you're standing on the bridge, and you just look
yeah,
straight over there.
that's like it's right there.
Yeah,
But if you were to take it out altogether, not have a crossing,
Right.
then that might be an okay option.
yeah,
Okay.
but you'd have to, again, either Case becomes a public street, or you go across that field. Okay.
So there's no action, nothing for city staff to do.
Well, I think we need to,
Please go back to the county.
he's looking for the access, the additional access in 24, which I agree with you. If you have to go over that ditch, you probably have to put in another crossing structure.
Right.
So you would have to be through that person's field, and whereas that Pace Drive, from the way I'm looking at it, that seems like the most efficient possibility. Is it that sufficient? I don't know the road, but if we can make that a city road, then we don't have to worry about rebuilding a bridge or building a new road.
Absolutely, I think that would probably be the county's preference. It's just hard for me to come here and say, that's what we should do.
So that, my
It's all the
question,
cities.
I think that's some city action to determine, do we think that could be a sufficient city road? Do we have to spend money to upgrade it? Those would be the three cost buckets. Bridge, that can meet the requirements. What do we do to Pace Road, or what would it do for this other one?
Sure, yep.
So I think our action would be that Pace Road
Sorry.
assessment.
But, I mean, we could measure off the width, if property owner permitted, that ultimately it's gonna require an engineer to.
There are costs associated with each. We know the cost of the bridge.
No, I'm just saying as far as what city staff is capable of
Oh,
doing
okay.
to satisfy whether it be a road or not, maybe beyond us,
Okay.
measuring the distance.
And the county can help with some of that. The biggest question would be if you have a landowner that's, willing to have those discussions and then talking to the city, like, the county has minimum widths of right of way and roadway widths that we require. I don't know what the city requires. Those tight in there, with what the mobile homes are, but
It doesn't look much more narrow than the bridge. But
no, I'd probably agree with that. Yeah, the bridge is very wide. If that's something that, the landowner is agreeable to, I'm happy to meet with the city staff out there and look at Pace as an option. I'll get with the design engineer and talk about bridge options. Because there's, probably things that have been ruled out that I'm not aware of, and then we'll talk to that other landowner about that as an option.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
And then, since I'm here, I'll just bring up that, the county's, currently has reviewed Valley View Estates. We've sent our comments to their engineer and the owner. If the city wants us to, if we need to sit down with the city and discuss anything about roadway widths or ditches or anything, let us know, give me a holler, and I'd be happy to chat with you about it.
That's entirely up to the county, in the
Okay.
territorial zone. And our planning commission approved it last night.
Okay,
It's not on the city commission agenda because
Right.
Mike wants to go through the county process
Sure.
first.
Yep.
He said there could be some changes to language or something else, that
there it is, yeah.
that sort of stuff. But as far as the road and the sewer, that's entirely up to the county.
Okay, well, again, we've turned our comments over to Mike, and we'll see how soon they get back to us.
Thanks.
So, yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, have a good one.
All right. So you'll follow up the Pages Drive, or looking into that?
Sure.
All right, storm damage repair agreement.
We've sent out in the packet. When it's approved, I'm the signature on it, page 35.
Yeah. You sent it in the same email with the packet?
No, it actually came out after the packet.
That's right.
I sent the packet out at 4, it came out at 4:30. I just was getting antsy when getting on the other
There it
things,
is.
separate file.
Do you have a chance to look it over?
Sent the city attorney, I haven't got comments.
Haven't been back from them yet?
I will admit, I have not read this in detail, but I did notice that it's an agreement between the city and BHS.
Yep, I saw that too.
Which I was curious about how you guys are gonna work out that, so maybe you could, someone could speak to that for us. Give us an executive summary.
Sure. Unfortunately, I'm very familiar with those contract forms, but, so Dan and I discussed this, and we actually have run into this, with other teamed projects before where we work with somebody else. It's actually a cost benefit if just one contractor's named on it, and then we have a signed agreement that says how we do business together. And the reason that is because we both have to pay general liability insurance on the full contract amount of whatever is underneath of each of our contracts. So it doubles up the insurance costs. So it's a way of alleviating that, and not having that as an added expense. It still means we're working together, but it does have us as the lead on the contract. I mentioned, there's a fee listed, that is the fee that it's gonna take for us to put all of the estimates together and then get bids from not only ourselves, but also some subcontractors to do some of the work. There's a lot of small projects likely within all of the storm damage. It's gonna take a lot of work to put all that together, but that fee is all inclusive of what we get, put into the insurance plan. It's not an added expense to the city. I'm sure I clarified that. There's any other questions on here?
I guess my only other question would be, since we had a perhaps longer than necessary discussion of this, Dan to the audience, is it agreeable to your, so both parties seem to be satisfied that you have underneath our insurance policy, you'll get the work done, we'll be able to pay you, and we've got local contracting.
Right.
Okay,
I mean, this is the same agreement him and Hutton used on the church bill.
okay, I just wanted to make sure that, so you kind of answered my initial question of the last meeting is how that's gonna work out.
The alternative is also, gets really complicated, but you have to form a joint venture and entirely that, yeah, it's messy. This is a lot easier to contract.
You don't have any idea when, you just sent it to Bernard?
I sent him on Friday, when we got it from the folks, wherever, and I come back with. Pretty sure he's gonna say it's just boilerplate stuff for the most part.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah, the little cheat sheet on there, there's a vertical line on the side of the text, that's where an edit was made from the original document that AIA published, so if there was ever a change, you can look through all the little changes that way.
So some of the work's been done, right? Like we did the ball, on the claim, you know, we did the ball line fences, we did the electrical work, we put it all back up. That's been part of the claim, or is it not? Because,
So I've had communication with your insurance agent, they have set a time up, or are working on setting a time with the underwriting company and the adjuster. They haven't set that yet, so I don't know what all's in the claim yet. But if it's part of the damage, it would be, I'd say if we're not really working part of that, though, there's no reason for us to have a fee on it.
that's all I was making sure, and,
We just wanna make sure the city gets compensated back for the work that they're doing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's-
did you keep track of your, like, times, okay.
Well, yeah, we haven't done the labor, but we have, pictures and we have, stuff we paid.
Mayor, so costs to the city, can you walk us through the whole project? First of all, what's the interaction with BHS and the city throughout the process? Who's getting that interaction, and also cost to the city, what should we anticipate?
So cost of the city as far as actual storm damage, claimable damage should be, just your deductible, whatever that deductible piece would be. Everything else should be underneath the insurance claim. As far as working, with BHS, it will either be me or I'll assign a project manager, someone very capable of, handling all of the, subcontractors and any of the quotes that come in, along with Dan's team, putting any, estimates together, and then also actually working with those subs to get the actual work done as well. As far as you asked me about how my interaction is gonna be and the cost to the city, I think I answered both those. Was there another one in there?
It was a blend, and I think you addressed it.
Yeah, I was just wondering the same thing, other than the deductible, we don't have any, there's no other cost to the city.
I might say too, just the real amount of work here is really assessing the damage of what all has been damaged and making sure there's a clear understanding of what was damaged by the storm and maybe what was previously probably there before. So assessing that and working with the adjuster and making sure that we are seeing the same thing, and then presenting that to the city. That's our goal in this and making sure that we do that. I might also say, there's probably a few options where we will be presenting, do you want to go ahead and repair this? There will be probably a handful of things that happen like that. That's clear damage, and then we'll leave it up to the city to make the decision whether they want to pursue that damage or not. as far as being repaired. But at least we'll know what was actually damaged and what your insurance claim could pay for.
Am I correct in, making the assessment that this line on page 4 of 35 is the most important? The contractor's fee, section 3.3.2, 10% be included in insurance claim totals? That's pretty much the important thing for us.
I think that's on the page.
I would add one more thing too. I mean, so what Pat was saying about damages that the city would elect not to do, there is something in there that talks about us being paid a 10% fee on settling that piece, if that makes sense.
So, meaning if there's damage that you don't pursue, we would still assess a fee on that.
The
for
city's,
figuring out
the
what's
city's still
going
gonna
on.
get paid for it
Yeah.
and may elect not to do it.
Okay.
So, that's it.
And it says 10% whether the work's done or not.
Well, if we get paid by the insurance company, are we obligated to do the work?
We'll
I
have
mean,
that.
I'm more of an ethical question than a legal question, I think.
I don't think you get paid to do it twice, meaning you're not gonna get,
Yeah, that's not what I asked, I said, but if we get, I'm just saying from an ethical standpoint, if we get compensated by the insurance company, we should do the work, we should fix it. If we're gonna get paid, if they're gonna pay to have it fixed, we should, that's my opinion, I'm not saying, that may not be legal binding, but,
Maybe it's something that gets demoed and you don't have anymore, you know?
yeah, could be.
I think we wanna leave that at your discretion, how do you wanna pursue that?
Okay.
A good example would be, I actually just had this happen on the storm at Woodford, my gutters on my shop. I'm probably not gonna replace them, I'm not gonna, it doesn't bother me at all, so I'm not gonna replace them. So, it'll be, actually, if I don't get them replaced, I probably don't get paid for them either.
Not exactly, no.
Okay. Any other questions? We're just gonna wait.
You could authorize me to sign it once the city attorney has reviewed it and doesn't have any concerns. If he has concerns, then I will sign it.
Okay,
I'm comfortable with that.
I'm comfortable with that.
So there's a consensus, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Still abstaining.
Yes.
All right, thanks, Dick. All right, moving on to, instead of Valley View, we're gonna do Seacliff.
Meeting Mayor, Commissioners, Jason Hoskinson, engineer with BG Consultants. Good to be here tonight. So I've got just a couple items. I'm gonna give you a quick update on the highway project here that's kind of at a standstill, but, so you've probably seen the work that's progressed, a lot of the sidewalk ramp, curb replacements, some of the milling and patching on K-63 has been complete. Contractor hit kind of a little snag, getting some scheduling and the UP railroad permitting stuff worked out. We've gotten through that, so they are back on track. With the railroad, there's some extra hoops and hurdles to jump through, if you will. And that is scheduled, they're gonna be back later next week to come back into town, finish up the concrete work, and then the following week, they will start with the milling and overlaying. So you'll see K-63 kind of get finished up, paved, and they're gonna start right in on Highway 24 as well. So the hope, based on their last schedule that they provided, would be the project would be complete by the end of August. So that's kind of where we stand with that. It is a working day contract right now, up until the delay with the railroad. They were at, I'm trying to remember the number, I think it was 43 out of 55 days, working days complete. So there is a little bit of time left to finish the project, but they're getting pretty tight. We're not assessing working days during the railroad permit delay. What happened was the permit lapsed in between the time they were awarded the contract and the time they wanted to start the work. And there was about a 2 to 3 week window there to try to get that renewed with the railroad. So it's back on track, and they'll be back in town end of next week. Any questions on schedule or progress?
Have there been any unforeseen circumstances, any cost overages or underages?
Nothing significant. We've had, there's been a little bit more patching than anticipated on K 63, a little bit of overrun there, but they've been, they've underrun some on the milling and we've compensated for, basically offset that with some adjustments out there in the field to try to accomplish the same goal. At the end of the day, they've also not used some of the temporary pavement marking that we kind of budgeted in there for a contingency. So that would be an underrun on the contract as well. So right now, we're tracking a little under on the overall price, but only by a little bit, not much.
Sorry, you may have said it before, but there were certain sections that were cut out of the concrete. What was that for? Was that just to address problem areas or?
That was failed areas of concrete where there may have been an old joint or something in there that had kind of rotten, blown out, or the steel was kind of sticking up and rusty, and it was in bad shape. Had a lot of those projects where if you just pave right over it, it will show up and you'll have a pothole there, the asphalt will pop. So the goal there is to cut that out, patch it back with something solid and sound. They pin it in with dowel bars into the good concrete that's left. So yeah, if you drive up and down K63, you'll see some nice wider, light gray patches. That's repairs to damaged concrete.
Any other questions?
On that, the one issue, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the plan is to finish 63 2 weeks from now, basically?
Yeah, it should, right now, weather pending, weather permitting, their schedule would have K63 pretty much done in 2 weeks. Yeah, in 2 weeks, and then Highway 24 done in 3 weeks. And then towards the end of that third week, they'll have the pavement marking guys coming in and they'll strike the whole thing, likely just in one day.
So just for clarification, you're saying K63 will be done by the end of this month, but 24 will not be?
Well, no, I see 24 taking 4 days. Is that, so they're gonna do 24 in 4 days?
Yeah.
Because you don't have those sidewalks or the.
Yeah, Highway 24 is not gonna take long at all. It's a day or so to mill it, patch it, and then a day or two to pave it, and then be out. There's not much left to do. Really, there's not much left to do at this point. It would probably be done by now, but for that railroad staff.
Is there a plan for 24, like the routing, is it one lane?
Traffic control.
Yeah, so traffic control,
Just curious.
yeah, that will be done with flaggers and probably a pilot car if they get the project strung out too far. So during the day, during working day hours, they'll have, it'll be down to one lane in each, one lane flag traffic, pilot car, getting traffic through. So there's gonna be a little inconvenience, a little bit of delay, but,
Have we notified, what about parking downtown? They're gonna have to be off the,
in the 2 eastern blocks downtown, yes. I don't believe they've notified them yet because they were waiting on getting the mobilization. If there are requirements, they've got to give a 2 or 3 day notification. So that will go out when we sure that.
who gives that? You guys give?
The contractor.
Okay, Dennis will get that out. Alright.
Yeah, the contractor will get that out at least 2 days in advance, and that way they get an opportunity to address any access concerns or issues with somebody.
How will they send that out?
I think it's hand delivered.
And then who's in charge of enforcement though? Does that then fall upon us?
Yes,
Do we
more or
leave a car
less.
parked out front? Cause there are a lot of apartments downtown. I think a lot of people park on 24 that live in those, so.
Well, can you remind me where on 24?
Is it Third Street?
Third available.
Third available?
Yeah, third
Oh,
available.
sort of.
Excluding the
Yeah, oh,
bridge?
there's, okay, yeah, there's no,
Excluding the bridge?
Okay, alright.
yeah, no, I'm
Well,
good,
yeah,
yeah.
we'll go 2 bridges, not gonna go over the middle of the bridge.
Yeah, third to Mapleville.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, that's,
yeah, the main parking areas will be out by the church.
Yeah. yeah,
That's all I have,
okay,
thank you.
yeah, thanks, Drew.
The only other item I bring up, and I believe Maurice included an email that I included to him about the concerns, Pastor Dean Scott, I believe. He had called me about the northwest corner of K63 in Dunkirk. some concerns with the slopes of the ramps and the sidewalk.
Right.
I'm sorry, dirt, yeah. Dirt.
That was a good movie though.
Yeah. I had sort of an Irish thing going.
You did a little bit.
So I met with them out on site and looked at it, and it is a challenging corner, let's put it that way. From an accessibility, from ADA accessibility standpoint, it is a challenging corner. Part of its K63 is sloped at 6.5% going up the hill. There's a pretty steep slope there. And then dirt coming around is a pretty quick drop off going west around that corner. As far as these types of projects go, when you resurface the road, you have to, ADA, Department of Justice has determined you have to improve the ADA accessibility crossing that road as well. So that means bringing the handicap ramps, curb ramps up to current ADA standards or as close as possible if you have constraints. And so that's why those ramps and those corners were included on all K63. This particular corner, I included a graphic in that email. Had an opportunity to review that. So the existing slope coming, way back up. The existing ramps on that corner, both directions crossing K63 and the side street, neither one of them were ADA compliant. The curves were too steep, the ramps didn't meet ADA standards as of today. There were no turning spaces above the ramps, that's a requirement of ADA as well. The existing slope kind of coming down K63 and turning down the side street was about 10%. Right now, the way it's shaped in there, we can't get ADA completely compliant crossing K63. We know that, there's exceptions to that in the rule. Right now, the slope's about 13% coming down and around the way it's been built, but provides ADA accessibility across the side street. Pastor Dean had mentioned, well, you kind of want it put back the way it was, or at a flatter slope. We did look at what was built out there. Bettis did build that side street ramp a little bit flatter than what the plans called for. But really, in the grand scheme of things, we could raise it up maybe about an inch, would be about all, to still meet ADA compliance crossing the side street. So we're kind of at this juncture where either, well, I've got the options listed out in that email. You could just leave it as it is right now and move forward with what's out there. It's much more substantially compliant with ADA than what was there previously. We're able to meet ADA where we could. And then option two would be, let's have Bettis remove the ramp crossing the side street because it was built just a little bit flatter than it needed to be, or than it should have been. But again, rebuilding that ramp gains us about an inch, not much of an improvement on the overall slope coming around the corner. I don't know if that's going to address the overall concerns. Or option three would be kind of throw ADA out the window and go ahead and bring it up and build them all steeper. It's not my advisable option to you to pursue, just because it does open the window in my opinion.
What was option 2 again?
Option two was to, so the ramp crossing during the side street.
So it's the one that's facing to the south or the one that's facing?
Yeah, it's facing south. No, it's facing to the south. It was built at about 6%. It could actually go steeper, but it would only gain us about an inch if we still try to stay within the ADA criteria that's out there.
Could I, mind if I? I
Go ahead,
actually
go ahead.
stopped by on my way down here because I wanted to look at it.
Mhm.
And Dean was coming out, I took a picture that I just sent you. It's kind of interesting. If you go look at it right now, you come around the corner and there is a patch of mud that is settled. And it seems to me, this doesn't correspond with any of your options, but if I think there are a couple of concerns. One is, will people be able to walk up the steep slope? And that's, I think, a function of the street that you can't really fix. The other concern is removing ice and snow, or if water settles and freezes, that becomes a slipping concern. And based upon the way that mud has settled there, it's obvious that there's a spot where you know what I'm talking about, where they come together, there's sort of a low spot in the middle of all these steep slopes where this is stopped. So if that were to be built up just a little bit, to take advantage of gravity, things could flow down, it seems to me that would correct big concerns.
Right, yeah, so the area right there where that dirt is kind of settled out, that's what we call landing above a ramp. It's a turning space, so if somebody's in a wheelchair and access, they can come up, and it needs to be flatter, 2% flatter in any direction. And the way it was built, it's at 1.2%. So technically it does drain. I think what's going on there is there's just mud and debris from the rains. Water's kind of coming down, washing around, it's kind of settled out there. There is drainage out. I don't know that it's going to cause an ongoing problem with freezing and ice building up on the ramp itself or the landing itself. But that landing, when I'm talking about that ramp to the south, we can raise that landing up about an inch and maybe tilt it about a half an inch more. And then much beyond that, we're out of compliance with ADA.
It's 28 degrees.
So yeah, it's
I sent you the picture, it's interesting that it clearly something's happening where that could be a concern, it seems to me. I would be hesitant to take away the ramps. That doesn't seem like a good solution.
right.
But I don't know how we could do, I guess engineers could do this sort of thing. Try to figure out exactly, I guess,
The question I was gonna get to was on 3, you say you don't recommend it, it's not ADA compliant. Does the KDOT have to sign off on this, and if they do, they see it, could it interfere with being repaid for the funds?
So you actually don't get paid for that one. That's all on the city because it's crossing the side street.
Well, but if they tie it to our project and say that we're not doing it,
There is a potential, yes.
okay, that's the other thing about it is we wanna fix it, but we don't get hung out waiting for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Yeah, the goal is to, where you can, make it ADA accessible where it's feasible. I mean, they're not gonna say go rebuild K63 at flatter slope so you can make this corner accessible. That's an unreasonable ask. But right now, the way it's built, the ramp, the south facing ramp crossing the side street, it's ADA compliant with landing above it. Everything else is a little, not quite within the maximum slopes that ADA would say, but because of the slope of the highway, we have no other choice, other than take the sidewalk out.
We leave it as it is until the project is signed off, and then if it's a city-only thing, we make it non-ADA. If that's what we're making.
well, but it sounds like we still have, 0.8 degrees of wiggle room between 1.2 and 2% rise. I don't know how much more drainage that would give you. I don't know. And maybe if you may go up further, you know what I'm saying, to get more space to work with, maybe that could work.
Yeah, there is, so the right of way is tight on that corner. The sidewalks are basically the back of the right of way, so any work going farther back to try to flatten that out or straighten it out does get off of city right of way. We would need an easement, which I don't know.
Onto the church property.
On the church property, yeah. I don't know that they'd be against that necessarily.
But that's where the concern is coming from, is from the church. So I'm just saying, in my own mind, I'm thinking one way you could buy a little bit of space is just to make that go up further so that you could, even with that same angle, get more drainage, maybe. So that, you're probably right, some weird, and it's dirt and not water.
Right.
But I could see that as an iced over puddle, which would be bad. You might be ADA compliant, but if you introduced a skating rink, then maybe you're not.
I guess from what I know, it doesn't cause me too much concern about it freezing over. We put a level on it, it's got over 1% of drainage coming out, which typically is enough to get that water to come out. Now, could a little bit develop there, or something, clogged grass or a little bit of dirt's there, it could travel a bit of water.
Dirt is thicker than water, so maybe if there's just a boundary on the north side of that, maybe. I don't know.
think the water would flow, it's just, hasn't been stabilized yet because they've been still kind of sort of working on the site.
I don't know, if you want, I wouldn't mind
Yeah.
hearing from the property owner, because this is a concern.
Pastor, you wanna come up and?
Yeah. Go ahead.
What's that?
You pick that. Okay. That's got to do this. Okay. Yeah. With his old picture here, you can see how I agree with him that the slope out there at the road is steep. But the steepness of that out there at the road is not as steep as what it is now. Once you get up there on that flat landing and circle to go up around the corner. If you look at that, and that probably shows it in the picture that he had. When you go around that corner there, if I was to take somebody in a wheelchair down that ramp, down around there to get them in their car, and it's in the winter time, and you got your leather sole type shoes on, that's easy to slip. Next thing you know, there goes the wheelchair all the way down to the highway.
Can I just understand, you're talking about trying to get someone into a car on Durick, so coming down Sixth Street,
Yeah,
down that ramp?
down that ramp is so steep, because that ramp there, coming around that corner, that ramp there is steeper than what I understand ADA to be. I was always under the impression that it's a foot per inch, or a foot drop. The slope drops down 1 inch per foot as it goes down. That's what I was always explained about what this ADA stuff is, that you had to have just a certain amount of slope. You take that section right there that goes around the corner, it's a whole lot more than 1.
Well, it's it's a 1.2.
It's only 4 foot. Those slabs are only 4 foot, or roughly 4 foot.
If you have somebody, Pastor, go in a wheelchair, it's gonna be on the north side of the building there, right? Do you have a ramp over there?
Yeah, I've got a ramp over there.
Yeah, so that's the only, so they have to go in that way.
Yep, That's the only door that we've got outside the stairs back there at the back.
Right.
And to get around up there, that's all uphill anyway, and now they put more slope in there to where it just makes it that much harder.
Could I ask Jason a question? Just by the numbers, is that slope steeper than it was before?
Yeah, that's the existing slope was 10%. Now, hold this back up, that 1 inch per foot.
Yeah.
That's 8%.
Okay.
The existing was 10%, and right now it's 13 going around that corner to try to hit the landings and get the turning spaces going down the ramps.
And it don't work. Now, I know that I'm not here to try to change engineering or say that it's junked and down to tear it down, I'm not trying to say that. But what I do wanna know is what I've asked before is, who's gonna be liable if somebody comes down this ramp and they get hurt because it's so steep? And as the pastor of the church, I don't want the church to be liable for it. I don't want to see the city liable for it. And people that get hurt, they surely shouldn't be liable for it, but somebody's gonna have to be. And I've never got no kind of answer at all about liability on this.
Yeah, when you talk about liability, I mean, then we gotta get lawyers involved.
Right, and I tried to do that already, and I cannot get the city lawyer to even talk to me, so.
I spoke with the city attorney about the matter, and he doesn't recommend that you sign anything assuming, accepting liability for it.
No,
But ultimately, the property owner is responsible, but ultimately it's up to the city to enforce its code, and it could be drawn in a suit as well, so.
See, we're in a pickle here. Because I realize the city don't wanna be responsible, and I can't blame it, you know. But you gotta look at it from my point of view too. I don't wanna have to be responsible when it's something that I didn't ask to have done.
So if we just continue on with the project the way it is now, and we went back later and made some changes,
Well, so a couple of things, it's in the KDOT right of way, so you need KDOT permission to do that. And if you do change it to where it's not ADA compliant crossing the side street, you're potentially liable for that as well if something happens associated with that. So, yeah, the liability word here is big. And I'm not an attorney, I'm an engineer, not an attorney. But, you know, we're trying to work within federally published guidelines.
Go ahead. The 3% difference is the critical difference here. The new slope is greater. Why? In order to get the ADA compliance on the south side?
Correct, to get, yes. We can't, so basically what I did, I said, okay, where can we meet ADA compliance?
And that specifically has to do with the crossing, not with the slope of the sidewalk.
We know we can't get ADA compliance within the desired slopes, trying to cross the highway, because it's already kicked up way too steep. So I said, okay, well, we can get compliance down crossing the side street, that ramp, we can provide a landing, a turning space, they come down the slope and they have a resting spot basically before they just keep going out into traffic. And so that area is all ADA compliant.
But in order to get to that spot, you have to go through now a steeper slope.
Yes, we have to make that up over a certain distance going back. And ADA allows us to do that if we're trying to exceed 1 and 12, at 8%. If the ramp's gonna be any longer than 15 feet, there's no need, you just go steeper, that's in the ADA guidelines.
What if you come from down here out to here, closer to the edge of the road, instead of back here? That way you can get rid of that.
what's he asking there? Explain what he.
Well, where the walk comes from the north to the south,
Yeah,
okay, bring it straight out to the highway, or straight out to During Street. And slope it right down there, you can get your slope in there
As
that way.
opposed to having it at an angle.
And then bring your other sidewalk and tie it back in, that way you would get rid of a whole bunch of that slope.
or would you be willing to give up a portion of that corner of your land to, I don't know, if we could do it that way? And then that would, you could put the landing in there and they couldn't you do that?
Yeah,
See what I'm saying?
kind of thinking out loud here, I mean, probably the easiest solution would be to eliminate any crossing on K63. If we got rid of those 2 ramps on that side, because that frees up some room to play with on our vertical and slopes and all that stuff.
You mean this one right here?
Yeah, don't have a crossing at K63
We never had
on that
before.
side.
Never had one before.
It was there, that wasn't used, I don't think. I mean, it wasn't.
Most people don't cross that road
Yeah,
there.
it's not
Right.
But then also go back farther onto the church property there and try to slope all that around. That would be the easier
Would
solution
you
to try to address some
Would
of
you
these.
be open to that possibility? I'm not saying we're not tying you to it now, but if that is a possibility of maybe taking out just a little section of your,
What kind of little section are we talking about? That's, I mean, clear back up to the building.
basic question, yeah, that's good, I don't know.
I don't know off the top of my head, we'd have to look at the numbers and see where it shakes.
Then I can give you an answer. But without knowing how much, I'm not gonna commit.
Well,
I don't blame you.
I think the point here is we could just see what the possibilities are.
Yeah.
Because, now, I don't blame you for being concerned about steeper, but 10% is already steep. So that's why I would not want to accept liability for a 3% increase in something that was already dangerous.
Yeah.
Potentially, I mean, just
And that's just what they've done.
yeah, it's a steep street, so I don't know, short of changing your entry point, which I don't think is feasible, it's always gonna be a little challenging, but I think we could at least get it back to 10%
Well, if
maybe,
they just bring the sidewalk straight down instead of curving it around.
potentially, I don't know,
that would get rid of a lot of that.
Are you able to do?
Yeah, if that's something the commission wants me to take.
I'd
a look
just
at,
be
I'd happy to
curious,
look at it.
I think it's worth at least seeing if there's a simple way to just get it at least back down to the 10%, which to me is still pretty steep, but.
Yeah, because if we could get that to where we didn't have that great big dip in there, if we could get that out, then possibly we could forget
Yeah,
about
but
it.
the irony of the
Worrying
dip is
about
that that's
liability.
actually there to help people, it's a landing, so I'm understanding. That's actually important for people in the wheelchair. apparently,
Yeah, to have that,
To have the flat spot, so
Yeah.
that's the balance I think we're trying to
and
strike.
there just isn't one, so,
It's like trying to make it ADA on the side of a mountain.
Yeah,
how hard to do this.
Yeah.
a Kansas map.
we will look into it.
Okay, well,
Come
I
up with some
appreciate it.
options.
I appreciate it. And, when you do, and you're talking about, extending that out, we've even talked about, somebody had mentioned something to me about making, from over here where that first section goes out, from where you stop cutting the sidewalk, back over to where you quit cutting the sidewalk and just take the sidewalk and place it in there and not worry about that. Well, for wheelchair accessibility, that's fine, but, the church shouldn't have to ought to do it, but if it comes down to that's what we gotta do, that's what we gotta do. But, yeah, if you look at some of those options and see that, I appreciate it.
Do you need to have a curve over there?
Huh?
See that curve on the,
Here.
is there a requirement to have a curve here?
Well-
Right into that.
You mean this and up here, somewhere this
Where
sidewalk?
it drops off, it's
Oh.
the sidewalk, and then this is the curve,
Oh, no, I don't see any reason why I have to have it.
fair that, and I'm just wondering, that might be another way to
Yeah.
smooth things out, help people get up onto the, I don't know what the rules are, but.
I'll take a look at a couple options for more bags.
Okay,
See what we can scratch up and see if we can make it better.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions on the C clip or that one?
Here's the slug.
End of the month.
Goes up and down.
Okay, into the mark.
Yeah,
Reply, reply now, baby.
That's all it takes, somebody to slip on.
Thank you.
Thanks, thank you.
All right,
I'm down there
move on
cleaning,
to,
I see kids up going down that side all the time. They're when I'm shoveling the snow.
ordinance number 1348, walk out of the street beverages.
So the last
Oh, yeah,
meeting,
got a chance.
we
There's
did
a bunch of
have alcohol and CB beers at park. City attorney recommended us making it all parks for using more stuff, so that's over the year, and it says persons of lawful age may possess or consume an open container of cereal malt beverage or alcoholic liquor in any city park or any building in such park.
That was the change.
That was the real change to all this. He did add stuff about, unless that's already in there, consumption area. So approving this, we publish it, we take down our signs.
That included all fours.
Golf course is in there
Yeah,
separately,
it's a distinct thing where you have to buy it at the golf.
as is the armory. But yeah, this is just the public parks.
Yeah.
And the buildings at said public parks.
We run the budget, so
He's aware of it.
you have concerns that you,
Well,
beyond the fact.
he's gonna have concerns about it, but it's a political decision.
Uh,
We're lucky Pastor Dean left.
Oh,
I think he's in
good
here.
sermon. Well,
Yeah.
So ordinance 1348 would accomplish that goal plus the Riverside Railroad and the flats.
Okay.
So,
You need a motion,
a motion that we have to publish it.
or Chuck might, but. Anybody have any questions or concerns about the ordinance?
I'd like to hear Chief Sue's comments on it before we, it's not like it's a rush or anything. I mean, there are some valid concerns, I don't, just to repeat my logic on this thing, I'm not saying, look, we have drinking everywhere, that we approved a common consumption area, which is adjacent to the park. So, but we don't, and it makes some sense to me, but I would like to hear his concerns, frankly. or if he has any, we're absolutely voting for it. Not just one voice.
Well, I think he's already, I mean, he's been here for a couple of discussions.
He was given a copy of this, and I said, this is what the city commission is looking to do. And he thanked me, so.
Well, if anyone's interested, I'll entertain a motion to approve that ordinance number 1348 as presented.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve appropriation number 1348 as presented.
We have a motion to approve, do we have a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second to approve appropriation ordinance number 1348 as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, next item is the golf course Ransom Financial Grant Writing Proposal.
When I was going to do the grant, although I can't write it, there are several pitfalls that could get us disqualified, and I thought it might be of interest to have someone with some expertise. I emailed Ransom because I get their newsletter. The only thing we've done with Ransom, I think in 2010, we had to put together some sample water rates for us. But, so we had a meeting, and she has a proposal in the packet. So, and the deadline for the grant submission is September 13th.
Where are we at on the actual golf course contract?
Well, I have been chipping away at it, but I would mention it to you outside of the meeting first.
Okay,
So what we have in front of us is this agreement
Yeah.
that what not to exceed $3,000. Is that the correct amount? Oh, yeah, it is.
you want a motion for this, or do you just want?
Well, I think there needs to be some sort of action taken if
Yeah.
you want it to be formally done. And then if it's approved, you could say that you would sign it, but then you could give me okay to sign anything that may come up in between now and the 13th or date.
Okay, well, first, are there any questions or any discussion on the matter? Anybody have any questions for Maurice as to what is going on? Okay. Go
I
ahead.
don't have any questions, Mr. Mayor, but we have said this multiple meetings now. We're going backwards through the process. We haven't clearly defined what it is we're after. We haven't analyzed any numbers. Certainly not the way I'm comfortable moving forward with any project. So now we're at the point of saying, we don't know what we're doing, but we'll take somebody else's money to pay for it. So it just makes no sense from my perspective, so I'm opposed to this, Mr. Mayor. And I think if we do want to take this seriously, we need to go back and start the process over and do it correctly. And that's clearly defining the terms, releasing an RFQ or an RFP, and moving on from there. Thank you.
Okay, so, any other questions, concerns?
Well, I have a question, but this is, well, it's sort of a question.
Yes.
If they write, this is, help for writing a grant that we may or may not choose, that's sort of similar to Francis' point. We wouldn't want to apply for a grant unless we know what we want the money for.
So that would be part of the grant application process, and would maybe even have a work session with the commission or a meeting to go over that.
But all of this is due on September 13th.
That's correct.
So my question from before remains, which is the grant process we're talking about something that asks, if we decide we want to do this, we can get this money, or are we saying we want this money, even though we haven't actually designed or defined what we want to do? Those are just what Francis is saying, and I agree with him on that point. And another, just, that's the specific question relative to this, but the other thing is, as I mentioned last time, I spoke with another group of people who do golf course technology, and I guess it was, I think it was last week, or the week before, Maurice and I had a phone call with a company that does golf course restoration for municipalities. And we sent him some information on our golf course, and it was a fairly short call, but he
Rather
said,
interesting though. You know, if Great Life has a value because of its expertise and its value to its membership, if this company, is what they said pans out and they think this is a good location, its benefit would be assuming most of the debt or having a contract geared to the city that would lessen the liability to the city. And then you could have, if that's what I took away from it.
yeah, so
Yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah,
what you're saying.
so this company, if they decide this is the location that they think they can be profitable, they would put a lease agreement together, they lease the course to the city, or from the city, and that it would be geared towards the amount of debt that we had after the refurbishment, and that we wouldn't necessarily be assuming is, you know.
yeah, so I would want them to be able to speak for themselves, and that's what I'm waiting to hear back from them. The TrackMan representative, that's the technology part. I think might be able to be here on the 20th, we're waiting to hear back, and if they're partnered with this other group, this guy, it's called Under Par Life, does golf course restoration. And their model seems to be, they actually come in and do a business plan study first, and if it's feasible, if it's not feasible, they're not gonna make an offer. But if they think they're gonna make money, then it sounds like they'll say, here, this is how much you're gonna need to take out some sort of a loan to do this. And here's our lease agreement saying we're gonna pay you this amount of money each year to cover that thing, which is what I thought we were interested in the first place. And that's an actual guarantee we've never gotten, even in concept from the other group. And that was our going in thing. We're not gonna do this unless we don't have it. And so I think no matter what, we need to hear from this other group, because that is more like what we were wanting to get as an assurance with Great Life, and we haven't gotten. It also would do some more due diligence, and then only at that point do I think we're in a position to decide how we want to fund it, and that's when we might pursue a grant. We might not.
Well, I would say-
Guaranteed funding source.
This grant cycle ends on September 13th, you choose not to do it. You can also choose to do this grant and then not submit it. You still owe the lady for her work, but then if you don't like what's on the grant, you don't submit it. What I took away from our conversation and I found truly interesting is one of the things that I struggled with was how much do you think the city should ask for in the grant? She thinks 50%. So if you were to do $1.5 million, she would recommend you ask for $750,000 in grant, and that would leave the project at $750,000. And from that, you could then do that thing. But that's an option. So,
I have a question regarding the grant. So say we do apply for the grant, we're trying to get half of 1.5 and the grant comes
Which I
back.
point out is just a guess.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying, but what if it comes back way less than that? Do we have the ability, so let's say we are awarded that, do we have the ability like, hey, we're not gonna actually take this despite being awarded it? That's a question I would like to know
What
because,
comes in us?
what's it?
What comes in
So
us?
let's say we get awarded less than 50% of the total cost of the project.
The grant comes in.
Yeah, say they cover 25%. Well, that's gonna put us in a lot different situation than,
yeah, and
and then can you refuse that or can you say, hey, that's not for us?
Well, yeah, I think we can, we don't have to accept the
I think
grant
I asked that during our
Yes.
conversation, and that,
or something like that.
yeah.
So I have a couple
How
questions.
does that look?
Go ahead. I mean,
But, and I'd also like to echo what Matt said. I think it is important that we take a look at this company that could possibly give us different options. I would be interested in that.
so I guess the question, and I don't disagree, but I wanna know, what are these other options? Is this just a technology, some type of technology that would be somewhat of the equivalent to Top Tracer? Is it are we gonna actually have a golf course? Who's gonna run the golf course? see, these are things that, you know, we have been trying to figure out over the last almost 2 years now, with Great Life. We know that Great Life would run the course. We would, is this other company, is that what they do? Do they run golf courses? Because I don't think, well, from the outset, I have had zero interest in the city being in the golf course business. But we're also, I think we're dealing with two different things. I think if we are going to do something to the golf course, I think this grant is important. And I would like to pursue that. But if there's another company that can come in and do what Great Life says they can do.
A little differently, so that's what I wanted to talk to you about, is because I think you should request a sample agreement that they have, and their lease agreement would probably be a good model for the other company too, and that we could use it as just to gauge how it's structured. But
Well, to answer your questions insofar as I can, first of all, I would say, I would rather they tell us what the options are, but from what I can gather, and it's the same with Top Tracer and Great Life. So Great Life runs golf courses, Top Tracer is a technology. So TrackMan is a technology, and this other guy runs golf courses. The TrackMan guys can talk to us about technology options that could be put in with a golf course or not put it with a golf course. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, it could be a standalone thing in the park, it could be anywhere, it could be in a bar, it could be, but what they've done is they partnered with this other guy who does do golf courses. So in my own mind, so I'd be interested to hear from them, we have in sort of 3 buckets of options. We have technology alone, some entrepreneur who recognizes that technology, simulated golf is a big market, more rounds of golf of that than regular golf last year, whatever, and they want to do something alone or with the city somehow, or the technology with the golf course, or I guess just the golf course, but that's not, everyone agrees that's not reasonable, including the guy who does these golf courses. He says, you don't want to be in the golf course business. To which I said, well, then why are you in the golf course business? Because I'm not selling golf.
so the gentleman we talked to, the one who does the
AD.
under Bar Live,
Yeah,
because what he said is he goes by gut instinct. He'll come up here, and if his gut tells him this is gonna work, he'll put numbers together and we're gonna buy it.
I don't want a gut instinct.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work, he won't put numbers together. But as far as this proposal, we met with her, and the one thing, and I don't wanna pressure anybody here, but she said the State Historical Society usually requires 30 full days. You were to review it for historical things, which will show up 0 because it already went through this process all those years ago and nothing's changed. But anyway,
Well, I'd like to, okay, so if this other company is willing to come.
yeah, we're just waiting to hear back from him.
Love to hear
The
from him.
TrackMan guy is in Denmark for their company, whatever, and they were gonna talk to each other. I'll follow up. But my hope was that they could be here by the next meeting and talk about it.
yeah, it sounded, I know you said you didn't say all the but it sounded rather interesting.
Yeah, and what he does do, which we have not seen yet, is an actual business plan. So he'll do the work that will help us see whether or not it's gonna be actually profitable and feasible for this market area. I think that's critically important, and before we can do anything, and I am not at all concerned about, I don't feel pressured by the state at all, because there's no crisis here. This is not a problem that needs to be solved quickly, in my opinion.
Well, I think 65% of the people that fill out that survey would disagree with you. They want something done. I mean, that land has been sitting up there for years, doing nothing. We're doing nothing with it. And at this rate, which we're gonna keep doing nothing, I wanna see this, because now you've sparked my interest on it. I really would like to see this. I don't think a standalone golf course up there is gonna make money. if it's just a golf course,
Everyone's agreed on that.
yeah, I don't think it's gonna make money, you gotta have something else.
Great Life says you need golf plus. Used to be
Golf
golf
plus,
plus
right.
fitness, now it's golf plus golf entertainment.
Right. So, and I think we're gonna use this, we're gonna pursue this grant regardless, so I'd like to see us start that ball rolling. And then,
Oh, I'm sorry, I remember my third bucket.
oh, what was that? Go ahead.
It's standalone simulation, technology with a driving range and a golf course, or just technology with a driving range. But it always includes food and beverage, that's this guy's model. So, sorry, that's the third model. No one's proposing golf course alone, I don't think. What's the fourth one?
Skeet shoot on the backside.
Well, if you don't have the full golf course, you get a skeet shoot. Anyway. I will follow, I kind of expected to hear from him, but I'm hopeful that we can get someone to present by next meeting. I'll follow up.
But they didn't give you any indication as to how much this would cost?
No, but he, the last one he did was a $5 million project. He said this would be at a smaller scale. And he said, if it's something that looks like it's gonna work, they work with us, decide what we want the range to be and enter into a lease agreement, and I like that. I like the sounds of that. Then we don't have to worry about necessarily getting any kind of a grant. We're in a lease agreement, they're gonna pay us a certain amount. That's what I've been wanting.
We have to fix the course first, right?
Well, we have to see, that's my thing, is I don't know exactly,
He didn't
What?
indicate whether they would do all the leasehold improvements or anything like that?
they would identify a cost to get things where it needs to be run. And then we would take out the money to do it, and then
Okay,
they
so-
would pay us back.
Okay.
But I can't, I'm not comfortable giving any more details than that, I need him to explain it. But
Well,
he's done it before.
I'm sorry to push you on this, but, the only other question I have is, so if he signed a lease, regardless of whether or not he made money, he would pay us back?
That's what it sounds like to me, that's what I think the
But
lease.
that's what he said.
Yeah, I'm
He's
not-
gonna assess the area,
That's what
and
I like
see if
seeing
we
the
get
game.
his gut instinct of whether it work or not, live or die,
Gut instinct.
that's what he said.
I think we should assume, worst case scenario, that there would be some costs associated to the city.
Yes.
We have real numbers on what those cost, to bring the course back to condition that's golfable, plus adding on a plus option. Those are real numbers, those aren't made up. So there are real numbers we could use to build the grant. And so I'm not sure where, there's a narrative that like we don't know what we're doing. I think to me, it's clear what we wanna do, but, and we have real numbers associated with the cost to do that. And so I would say, if we need to assume the worst case scenario, that there would be costs to the city, we should use those numbers to apply for the grant, so.
And
We should use what we already have.
And just for clarification, you're not approving the submission of the grant. I gave her all the information that we've been going with Great Life and all the options. You're gonna have to pare that down or leave it as it is, but there will be, whether you wanna do pickleball or whether you wanna do the mini golf and those stuff like that. So you will have input before the grant is submitted.
So, yeah, I agree with Nate, and I'd like to pursue this agreement to get this going on the grant.
Well, I wanna hear what you have. I think it's interesting, and my objective is to see how Golf Plus something could fill that space, which was designed as a golf course. It's already been built that way. I'd like to see as the primary option what can come back. But assuming there would be some cost, because we should just assume that. I think that's a safe.
Definitely cost.
Use the numbers we've already been given, and then here, to keep that moving, because otherwise another year's gonna go by. And there are, I would like to see something happen up there sooner than later. 5 years of just sitting there, so I'd like to come to a resolution to this one way or another. So my vote would be to continue to pursue it, to use the real numbers that we have already,
Alright, so you could do a motion to approve the proposal as presented.
Okay,
I ask a question.
yeah, well, absolutely.
So, we're trying to approve just the
Preparation of the grant.
preparation of the grant,
Yes.
Correct.
and then, let's say we do meet with this company that Matthew, so we could easily change out numbers if they needed
Well,
to.
so I think what you're looking at on the grant is the refurbishment of the course. Great Life and the Southern
Which is
Company
separate, yes.
could almost just be competing lease agreements. If the grant's approved and the project is done, the refurbishment, that'll have to be bid out. There's requirements by the federal government, and all that, so, that's really not in play, because you have to follow those rules. But what he had put together, Dr. Johnson put together, it's gonna be compelling. I don't know, it's gonna really come down to what you see the better value, the Great Life point from it, and the memberships and their expertise, and their local versus this other concept. It really was a good presentation, so.
Oh, yeah, you know, you definitely struck my interest on it, I'd love to see it. But, yeah, so, and this is not to exceed $3,000.
Correct.
Any other questions on the grant proposal?
I just have one statement that was kind of referenced as part of this discussion on the grant proposal. There's a reference to the survey. If we go back, try to recall the questions on the survey, is should the city commission consider, refurbishing the golf course? Well, should they consider it? Yes, people answered that with maybe that percentage. And then it was a very clear question after that. Is should the city refurbish the golf course, which might include taking out a loan or bond, and the golf course would pay for the repayment of that bond with revenues. So in other words, no costs. So I think it's very important to not reference that survey unless we follow the wording of the survey. Because it seems like it keeps changing, and I go back to no terms have been defined, we have no idea what we're doing, and I think that was made very clear during this discussion. This makes no sense, Mr. Mayor.
You want,
If there's a motion to approve the proposal as presented, or no action taken.
is there a motion to approve the proposal as presented by, Ransom Financial? Do we have a motion to approve the grant writing proposal through Ransom Financial as presented?
So may I move to approve the proposal as presented?
We have a motion, do we have a second? We have a motion, do we have a second? No second? Motion dies. Well, actually, I can second the motion, can I?
You may say.
I will second the motion then. We have a motion and a second to approve the grant writing proposal through Ransom Financial as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign?
No.
Motion passes 3-2.
Passes 3-2.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Move on to bucket truck.
In the packet is the information on the bucket truck. It came in under than what you approved, about 22,000, because it is a slightly different truck. And the reason Don agreed to it, it's still sufficient, is because he had to wait another 6, 7, 8 months potentially to get another truck, and this one is suitable for the work that's done, and he recommends its approval. But it can be carried over. Any more information?
with it?
Yeah, but there's a all-tech agreement.
Is it cheaper because there's no bucket on it, or?
No, it's cheaper because it doesn't have the platform extender, thing, and it's not four-wheel drive, even though the one we originally ordered wasn't four-wheel drive. They originally told him there was gonna be one that's four-wheel drive to be available, then it wasn't. So he thinks striking while the iron is hot is good, because these weights can be really long. And, so that would be for,
Well, you don't need another approval.
no, well, there's gonna be an agreement, so, if there's consensus to enter into the agreement, whether that be me or the mayor, there's no problem with that, no objections. I just want it in there for the audit.
I understand. Any objections to it?
Thank you.
Next item is property insurance renewal.
I didn't take it off the agenda, but there's gonna be no action tonight because the agent was under the weather and she couldn't make it.
Okay.
I had some information in the packet, it wasn't the invoices or anything like that, but the renewal's coming in much higher than, expected. I'm not sure about the property one. So we have the different policies, the liability policy, the inland marine, all these ones. And the one that we're still waiting on is from Chubb. So three of the policies would stay with the current company, the fourth one would be out, with the other one. So hopefully they're available to be at the meeting. I couldn't stand questioning, so I said it was just carry over.
Okay.
Thank you.
Library building repairs.
Request of Dennis Miller, who's the liaison between the city and the library advisory board. They asked me, the department heads, so Bob and Don went up there and they walked me through some potential repairs. And I put it in the packet and I asked Bob if he could be here, if he could go through them and say what we can handle ourselves and what we can't handle, like the carpeting and that sort of stuff. So Bob, if you're really interested. And with the, yes. Give me. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, Frank's not doing it.
All right.
So, yeah, Don and I met with her and Dennis.
Judith Kramer, Dennis Miller, and the other person.
No, Don and. She's got some concerns. I think the top ones are the lights inside. And then the roof, she had a leak. It hasn't been repaired yet, and there was another leak, but it had just rained and it did not leak the last rain, so I don't know if it's the wind blowing it under something or, but, that's in the process of getting repaired. And a lot of the lights, Don says he's having a hard time finding bulbs, the old fluorescent bulb, they're this size, the lights and all, the ceiling. So he's gonna check with his supplier and just get some numbers on replacing them with LEDs. I think these are all LEDs replaced a couple years ago. So he's on that, and there's the sidewalk that goes to their little storage building. I've had 2 contractors look at it the last couple of months, and I haven't received one bid back yet, so we're just gonna do it ourselves. It's just a couple yards, and they're having issues with their carts going back and forth from the library to their storage shed, bouncing around and stuff falling off, and it is in bad shape, so we'll handle that. And, see, a lot of little stuff that we can do, mainly, her front steps got a little crack in it, she'd like to get it painted, the entryway.
What about the rug?
And the rug, that's gonna be a big expense, and it does have some seams coming apart in some of the higher traffic areas.
Do you remember when that was installed?
I would say that's from
when they moved in there, 1982, I think she said, when they moved, 82 or 3, something like that.
I thought the only reason I don't doubt, 100% doubt you, but I don't know why, but I vaguely remember my kids were little and we were up there and they were replacing carpet. I don't know, I mean, I could be wrong, but I kind of remember taking the kids and they were replacing carpets. That would have been early 2000s.
Yeah. I don't know, she thought it was original. And so
Oh, okay,
then-
and, yeah, maybe it's just one little area or something.
Is it tearing and is it a drip hazard?
Yes, she's been sewing it by hand, trying to get it together. It's coming apart again. I took some pictures last year, I think, sent it to Marie.
So of this list of stuff, what are the big ticket items that we can't do, in your opinion?
The roof and the carpet,
So the roof's being taken care of,
the ceiling tile, you know, when that storm came through, it did get some water damage. So I just told her in the beginning, I said, let's wait, we'll not replace them yet, because if it does leak, they'll just get ruined again, so she's just,
This is storm damage then?
Yes,
Is
it's
this part of our
storm
insurance claim?
yeah.
Seems like we should.
it's just taking a while.
On the roof.
Yeah, okay.
But, yeah, there's just a lot of little things we can do. There was a dead tree out front, I didn't even know about it. I just went up there the next day and cut it down, just a little bush thing. And, you know, we'll just work at it slow but sure.
Should we get some bids on the rug?
Well, what I was thinking about is, should we reevaluate, like, we took the road down here and we had tile put in, if that would be a better
Or
option.
flooring, yeah, different flooring.
Yeah, well, cause we could ask Kaiser, who did this work, and he was the low bid on both of those, and did the armory floor, right, was that Kaiser?
Yeah.
Okay, just for some ballpark ideas, what I would first like is just an estimate, just round numbers to see how big it would be. And, you know, you can do compare, if he does a carpet estimate, that's fine, but I'd like to look at having.
I wonder if they would have to take out everything out of that.
Well, that's what we could tell them, or ask them.
She said they have some kind of hook jack things that can go under them and they could move them all to one side and then they.
Oh, okay.
We had to do that here, we had to move everything here, filing cabinets, I mean, it was like we packed up and moved to City Hall.
But there was a reason, cause I asked her the same thing, there's a reason that they would like to have carpet.
Probably has to do with noise.
Or,
Probably has to do with noise,
that noise and
I would think. I mean, it's
something.
That's funny, you're not being funny,
I'm
but
not
that
being
is,
funny.
but it is funny.
Yeah.
So I
think that's right.
I just wanted to bring it to your attention,
Oh,
and then that we can go out and talk to people about getting this ballpark numbers.
Yeah, I'm
And,
sorry.
no, it's fine. I just wanted it in front of you, and then that, we can then go out and looking for answers and come back, instead of just trying to do that and then bring them here. And we would look at carpet as well, I suppose, and if Kaiser can't do it, we find someone else, to do that estimate, but yeah, you'd have to move everything. But you just move from one area to the next,
Okay.
and then they do a portion of it, and you don't know that, and we try, so. Bob, I kinda cut you off, were you done looking?
Oh, yeah.
What about that parking lot?
Don fixed it.
Yeah, what about that parking lot?
You do the parking lot.
The parking lot, I think we could do that, but I just don't wanna do anything yet because they're still doing all that construction with the apartments right there next to it, and they're in and out with.
You chip and sealed it 5 years ago, right? Or something?
No, not the south side, we did the east side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's all busted up now, it needs scratched out and new asphalt, probably. I'd say 5,000 or less for new asphalt for us to do it.
Can we do it with the Sequent project? Turn around up there? Okay.
But I don't think it'll be this year because they're still working up there.
And since you're there, you could give an update on the part like the oiler and the status of that?
Oh, sure, yes, we did get it back, a couple weeks ago and tried it out, did a couple blocks
That's something.
on 4th Street and it's working real good right now.
All right.
So, we'll see, we have a lot left to do, but we'll get on it here soon.
And when, so there's been this issue about the condition of the property along 24 and over 9th Street. He was gonna have a cut for hay with diet plants or
I
whatever.
saw the email.
Can we put it under our thing just to mow it?
Yes,
Send a
we
bill?
brush off, we can mow it.
What do you think you do this week or is it next? Is it this week or next?
Probably by the end of the week, Thursday, Friday.
So if you've got any feedback from that.
I think it's gonna rain.
Ron, I kind of moved in that to reports, you were gonna talk about,
Yeah, well, I got two things that
I
I
had
wanted.
one, and now I'm done.
So as far as the armory, I had actually a couple of people ask me this almost same question about, the steps. The lighting out there, well, even during the day, but especially at night, the lighting around the entry to the armory is not great. I mean, it's good, but maybe painting some reflective light, just, I don't know, like on the front of the steps or on top of the steps, silver or gold or something.
So when you walk up, you can see the edge of it?
Yeah, because I had a couple people, and I'm not talking about people that have had too much to drink at a reception, I'm talking about, you know, people that just sight, speaking personally, sight, you know, maybe we can look into that, if that's possible.
Okay.
And then the other thing, well, this will probably just be an agenda item for next meeting, is that study for the speed limit.
Yeah.
I really want to get going on that.
Alright, so my only other manager's report would be, there's requests by a property owner in the city's subdivision number 18 up there about vacating an easement. He sent it apparently to all of you as well, at least it said down there. Last night at the planning commission, I'd previously talked to the city attorney about if they were entertaining vacating those easements, would it be easier to vacate the plat or to just vacate the easement? Because if it's wrong on this particular guy's properties for building, you know, it's like 20 feet on the south side of that lot, right there by across from Denton, maybe we just adjust everybody's at the same time. And that would include the lots on the south side to a different degree. Well, the point being is, we're looking at it, the planning commission seems okay. I just have Don meeting with the property owner to see exactly what he wants to see if it's doable. So it is being addressed, but, when we know how we'll do it, and it's been working. That's all I have.
Okay, anybody else have anything? Motion to adjourn?
To adjourn.
We have a motion, do we have a second?